Welcome to SVG-TV News for Friday, May 3rd, 2024. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. The Ministry of Education and National Reconciliation, the Early Childhood Education Unit, kicked off Child Month celebration today with a lunch and church service at the Camden Park Apostolic Faith Mission. The theme for Child's Month 2024 is Nurturing Tomorrow's Leaders, Get Involved. Delivering opening remarks at the launching ceremony, Senior Education Officer with responsibility for early childhood, Etienne Williams, said the team serves as a powerful reminder of the important role we all play in shaping the future of our children.
We at the Ministry of Education and National Reconciliation are constantly inspired by the potential and promise that our young people hold. We also recognize the importance of investing in our children to help them develop the skills and qualities that they need to become leaders of tomorrow. According to Dennis Waitley, the greatest gift you can give your child are the roots of responsibility and the wings of independence. As a society, we have a collective responsibility to nurture our children and provide them with the support and guidance they need to thrive. It is essential that we invest in their education, health, and overall well-being to ensure they grow up to become the leaders of tomorrow. The Ministry of Education cannot do this on its own. We need the involvement of all the other ministries and organizations, because once our children are born, their first interaction is with the Ministry of Health. Later on in their lives, the Ministry of National Mobilization, the Ministry of Education, and all other ministries and organizations will join to give their guidance and support to nurture tomorrow's leaders.
Williams further told the ceremony that getting involved with the lives of children is not just a suggestion, but a call to action to be present, to be engaged, and to be proactive in supporting and guiding the young ones.
It is also about listening to their voices, understanding their needs, and providing them with the tools and opportunities they need. Getting involved in a child's life can take many forms. It can be as simple as spending quality time with them, listening to their thoughts and feelings, and providing them with a safe and nurturing environment. It can also involve volunteering at their school, participating in community programs that support children, or advocating for policies that benefit their well-being. Therefore, we have dedicated the 22nd of May, 2024 as Children's Day in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are also hoping that the various organizations and community members can participate in this activity by adopting a school or a class or a child for that particular day. This activity will be held in-house in each of our educational institutions. I encourage each and every one of you to get involved in the activities and events we have planned for this month. Let's come together to support and empower our children and help them reach their full potential as leaders of tomorrow.
Williams said this year's Child's Month celebration will include in the annual march and rally an inaugural exposition to be held on May 10th at the Victoria Park, which will showcase a diverse array of information booths covering several topics ranging from early childhood to tertiary education and various aspects of healthcare, counseling, welfare, and disaster preparedness. Chief Nutritionist in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Nicole Franz, who also addressed the Child's Month launch ceremony today, CPA, said as we entrust the youths with the responsibility of shaping tomorrow, it is equally important to recognize that their potential is a link to their health and well-being.
So more than just nurturing their intellect or talents, it is equally important to safeguard their health, because healthy leaders not only lead effectively, but also inspire greatness in others. Keeping in mind that health is not only the absence of illness or disease, it is a state of physical, mental, and emotional well-being. It is about having the energy to pursue dreams, the resilience to overcome challenges, and the clarity of mind to make sound decisions. The health of today's leaders is not just a matter of physical fitness. It encompasses their mental, emotional, and social well-being. As we strive to nurture their leadership abilities, it is imperative that we also invest in their holistic health. Our ministry has embarked on a number of initiatives over the years to enable our youths in terms of physical health. Our Vinci Move initiatives, which include workout sessions at various events, open spaces, schools, are geared towards encouraging movement, as we recognize that a healthy body forms the cornerstone upon which leadership skills are built.
Senior Education Officer for Curriculum Development Unit, Aldia Gums Dyer, in her address at the ceremony, said since children are our greatest hope of our nation, it is critical that all citizens and organizations support their overall social, emotional, and physical health and their economic circumstances.
Research shows that children who grow up in a nurturing and caring environment are most likely to perform better in school, cultivate positive attitudes, and be least involved in criminal activities. At this time, I extend gratitude to all the individuals and organizations who partner with us in the Ministry of Education and Reconciliation to provide our students with a well-rounded education. And if you look at the back of your programs, you will see the numerous sponsors who support us today, and not just today, but always. Now, how can we get involved? Children are vulnerable. From the time they are conceived, they are dependent on parents and other adults to care for them until they mature into adulthood. Let us remember that children are children right up to the age of 18 years old. Therefore, as parents, mothers, and fathers, we have a legal and moral obligation to provide financial and other support throughout their childhood, that is, until they are 18 years old. Whether they are naughty or nice, whether relationships work out between parents or if they fail, we have that responsibility. So when parents break up, I urge us as mothers to continue to love and support our children. Fathers, when the relationships go sour, the child is still your child. Continue to support him or her.
1,745 grade 6 students from across St. Vincent and the Grenadines are expected to write the final components of the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment CPA this year. In an interview with the Agency for Public Information Senior Education Officer with the Examination Unit, Bernadette Graves said the total number comprised of 872 females and 873 males who will write the external examination at 18 centers across the country. Now,
Now, the students would have already completed the internal aspect of the CPA. Remember, CPA is subdivided into two parts. We have the internal component and we have the external component. The internal component carries 40% of the scores, while the external component carries 60%. Now, all the moderation aspect of the internal component has already been done. So now students await their final examination, and this final component will be held on Wednesday, May 15th, and on Thursday, May 16th. Students will write on day 1 mathematics and social studies examinations, and on day 2 students will take language arts and science examination. So we have students seated in 18 centers throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines to do their final component of the CPEA.
Graves said following the final component of the exam, students will engage in the reading assessment, which will help in their placement to various secondary schools nationwide.
Final component, the final examination, students will also engage in the reading assessment, and this is scheduled to take place from the 21st of May. So as we plan to place students into secondary school, this information is also necessary. So students will engage in reading assessment, assessing their reading and comprehension skills. Let me take this opportunity though to wish all of our students the very best in their exams. You would have done your studies, everything you know how you could have done. Now it's time to showcase what you have learned, and let me take this opportunity to wish you the very best in those examinations. Also, let me thank the teachers, the parents and the guardians, whomever, for their investment in these students, as they themselves would have prepared them for the final component of the CPEA. So the very best to everyone who are involved in the preparation of our students.
The final component of the CPEA comprises of multiple papers in 4 subject areas, including social studies, science, mathematics, and language arts. The final exam accounts for 60% of the students' overall score, and the school-based assessment, which forms the internal component, accounts for 40% of their final score. Today is World Press Freedom Day, which is being observed under the theme Press for the Planet, Journalism in the Face of the Environmental Crisis. Lawyer and journalist Jomo Thomas believes that journalists here in SVG do not cover many environmental stories.
I don't see a lot of journalists in St. Vincent working, doing a lot of work, whether investigative or otherwise, on the environment. And the government, in its budgetary disclosures, talk about mitigation and adaptation for climate change, and we speak to the problems and the facts that the world is under pressure. 24 of the last 24 years witnessed record heat. The environment is clearly heating up. This year is on its way to being another record year. But I don't get the feeling in St. Vincent that a lot of that is taken care of.
As it regards the freedom of the press, and SVG Thomas says that many journalists also do not do investigative stories, but transcribe more to the powers be.
Say that the press is under threat. I think that a lot of the press is very accommodating. In a real sense, the press are like transcribers of power. They don't question power, they transcribe for people in power. They, in many respects, they are apologists for people in power. You rationalize and explain rather than question, and to put a searchlight on dark places. So the press is very accommodating of power rather than investigative of power. That is not a good place to be, because when that happens, the populace remains very uninformed. The populace don't get the necessary information on which it can make informed, correct, to the extent that you can make correct, informed decisions.
OECS countries jumped up the rankings in World Press Freedom Global Index. Meanwhile, the Reporters Without Borders Press Freedom Global Index revealed that countries of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the OECS, jumped up the rankings by 25 and now placed at 68 out of 188 countries. In that report, it states that the OECS has struggled to maintain a strong press freedom record despite editorial censorship and growing political influence. SVG was mentioned in that report, which states that under the legal framework, quote, in 2016, SVG passed an ambiguous cybercrime law aimed at curbing online freedom under the guise of criminal defamation. It supplemented an earlier law provided that persons convicted of defamation in the print or broadcast media face up to 2 years in prison, adding online media to the list, end of quote. Now we hear that money laundering, terrorist financing, and other serious financial crimes are issues which impact the global community, including here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. According to Director of the Financial Intelligence Unit, Letitia Sandy, the financial crimes that are occurring here are not particularly new. Sandy, who was speaking on WFM's Cup Chat program recently, said persons engaged in these crimes usually seek to gain the trust of their victims through various apps and investment schemes which promise of large payouts.
Lure them in, have them invest monies, and then ultimately it's a case where they make it seem like that's legitimate, allow them to probably see some little return on their investment, and then ultimately they disappear. So that is gaining more and more traction, especially as you mentioned in this time of AI, because they either steal credentials from legitimate persons to appear legitimate themselves, or they create these AI profiles. I know we go on Instagram and there's that app that keeps popping up every minute that they could turn your party pictures into business pictures. So with AI, it's making it a little harder to see if something is fake, right? And of course, you have all of these crypto-related offenses in what we traditionally would call the Nigerian scam, where we would be able to spot somebody engaged in those activities because the language was broken and things like that. With the advent of things like ChatGPT, it's a case where you get text that's flawless. So before, when you had that broken English being the telltale sign that this person was perhaps engaged in that Nigerian scam, it's more difficult to spot.
Senior manager of the Bank of SVG, Colin Russell, said although technology has given financial institutions platforms to track financial crimes, it has also given criminals the ability to use the same kind of technology to conduct criminal crimes.
I've seen cases where we have a lot of small boutique hotels where criminals will book hotel rooms and cancel just before the booking time. They might have booked 5, 6, 7 rooms, and you will have a penalty for canceling before. Mm-hmm. And they will be in communication with you and tell you, okay, no problem, cancel, take out your penalty and just remit the difference back to me through Western Union or MoneyGram, one of these institutions. That you're being scammed because the card that they would have used would have been one where they would have stole. It would have been a fake card, a fraud card. So they commit fraud. There's also the issue of stealing identity. July, August, you go on your vacation and you're going to Walmart, one of these big shopping centers, and these criminals would have hacked these institutions, steal the database, and capture your information. So these are the things. So it is important that your card, that you be so cautious and secure when you're using your card, whether it's your debit card or credit card, in terms of securing information.
Russell outlined a few precautions that a person may take to avoid falling victim to financial crimes.
Background checks is know your customer, KYC, that is what we call it in finance. You have to do your due diligence on that person. And on the other hand, in terms of your identity, you have to safeguard it. You just can't take, for example, if I go to a restaurant with my credit card, if you're taking my card to go somewhere to swipe it on the machine I tell you, no, give me back my card. You have to swipe it in front of me. I know. So if a business house don't have that sort of a mobile point of sale, then they need to get it, right? People need to push back and understand these things. You have to safeguard your card because there's so many things that go wrong when they go with it, and then people could then take your information without you knowing, So if you have to make sure that you safeguard your identity, not only with your card, even online, the sites that you're going to, the websites that you're going to, you need to make sure that these are safe and secured sites rather than just going into just looking for who might have the best deal without paying attention to you. So it's about safeguarding your information and ensure that when you navigate the internet and so forth, pay attention to the sites and ensure that they're safe.
Elroy Boucher has retained the presidency of the Public Service Union, the PSU, at the elections, which was held last week over a 3-day period. Speaking to SVG-TV News via the telephone, Boucher, who entered the elections unopposed, said he is grateful for the workers for giving him another 2 years to serve them.
Give him support, the executive who is still remain because most of them were re-elected, our members and the public. The fact that I consider the fact that I was unopposed to indicate the confidence that the members have in me and in my leadership. And I'm eternally grateful to them and humbled by the very fact that they decide that they will want me to continue in that particular role. Very honored by that particular sentiment. So I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful also to God, of course, for taking me through that period. The union has a lot of challenges ahead of it that require astute leadership and show that the persons who are re-elected will be able to stand firm and give support for us to achieve our objective.
Over the next biennium, Boucher signaled his intentions to prioritize the collective bargaining agreement with government, which he said needs to come into effect.
Agreement is critical for any union and critical to ensure that the benefits and conditions of work for workers are adequate and more than adequate. Outside of a collective agreement, it becomes very challenging to address certain issues. For example, how do we change the issue of paternity leave? How do we introduce that? How do we change maternity leave? Most of those things are done through collective bargaining. And as yet, after so many years as a public sector union and so many years under this current Labour government, we are yet to have the government agree and express a willingness to negotiate a collective agreement with the Public Service Union. That is really extremely important. The Public Service Union is enshrined in the Constitution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is there as a union representing all public officers.
The other unchallenged positions were first Vice President Gwyneth Batiste Stoddard, second Vice President Desrita Jilks Boucher, Treasurer Carrie Lewis, Women's Committee Chair Anastasia Wickham Caesar, Young Workers Chair Naoki Cupid. The other members of the PSU Executive Committee are General Secretary Shelley and Alexander Ross, Assistant Secretary Lanique Finley, Providence Grievance Officer Dougal Allen. The banana industry here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is improving in production following the banana revitalization project undertaken by the Taiwan Technical Mission that ended in 2022. Chief Agricultural Officer Renato Gums openly thanked the mission at a recent visit to Arnshell, where there is now a banana ripening facility and storage.
We also had a banana revitalization program which ended recently, in fact ended last year, where we, as you know, the banana industry was declining and the acreage was probably down to about 400 or 500. So we managed to get that acreage back up to about 6-7, and then we work on the productivity, which there was significant increase in the productivity in banana. So what we have to do now is to build on that, You first have to hold the ground, make sure it will slip again, and start to build again. And we're really grateful for the mission.
Farmers use the ripening and storage facility at Orange Hill at a small cost. One farmer, Isaac Haywood, explained that they are now having a steady and increased production ready for export.
Well, it depends on a weekly basis. On average, I would do about 45 boxes per week.
And before you were using the facility, what would you have done?
Most of that, sometimes a trafficker, because we were depending on traffickers who would buy the fruits. Sometimes 1 week they would tell you, we don't need any this week. You know, so it was somewhat inconsistent. But now you have a consistent flow of bananas on the local market.
And are you finding there's a lot of competition for the cold storage, or how does that work?
Well, it's currently filled to capacity right now, and I understand that other people are showing interest in using it. So there might be need for additional ripening rooms along the island.
The farmer added that they also found ways of supplying the local market, as they found that more locals are consuming bananas.
There was possibilities on the local front to, absorb the fruits that we were producing. So we went about looking at various supermarkets. Some of us would have consulted with the supermarket owners, and we found there were opportunities there. So the facility was set up, and then we started bringing fruits here, ripening, and selling to the supermarkets who would then, retail to locals. Since the addition of this, we would have seen quite a bit of uptake in terms of bananas being consumed locally. So we want to say thanks to ICDF for allowing us the facility so that we can, make an income, and in some cases where we are consuming more local produce.
Under the Banana Revitalization Project, close to 44,000 banana tissue culture seedlings were grown. 4 farmers' demonstration fields were established, and 1,620 hectares of banana plants were sprayed for black Sikatoga. The Ministry of Agriculture is seeking to increase the production of English or Irish potatoes here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which forms part of the transformation of the local agriculture sector. This is according to Minister of Agriculture Saboto Caesar, who on the ULP Speaks radio program recently said his ministry will embark on the distribution of potato plants to farmers throughout the country.
On a weekend, truckloads of English potatoes moving through the country. We want to increase the production of English potatoes, and we brought into the country a container load of potato seeds, and we distributed these, and I am aware that they're going to distribute some to not only persons with farmlands, but persons who have areas around their yards, so that they can produce some English potatoes at home. As my comrade said, the backyard garden farmers. So we are going to have that distribution over the upcoming days. I know that the storage is at Montreal, and Cardi is working along with several technicians in the ministry. And when we started the project, I said to the technicians, if it is done successfully in Dominica, why not just go to Dominica and see how it is done? Instead of running a long experiment here, get the information from Dominica. And I want to thank AICA for assisting the ministry in arranging that visit, and that visit is going to take place very soon.
Minister Caesar said already a number of farmers island-wide have set up demonstration plots for the production of English potatoes.
Between 45 and 50 persons who have engaged in establishing demonstration plots in some instances, but some persons have up to an acre and a half of potatoes. So this is one of the areas that we are looking to expand our production. The CARICOM 25 by 25, reducing the food import bill of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The target was 25% by 2025. Of course, we will have to relook the targets because we know that we are still grappling with the vagaries of climate change. We are impacted negatively by the ash from the volcanic eruptions. So we are basically in the process of rebasing our numbers and our targets, but we are keeping it as a platform, as a best practice.
And St. Vincent and the Grenadines are scheduled to host the 2024 Caribbean Week of Agriculture in October this year. During the ULP Speaks program, Minister of Agriculture Supporter Caesar said the event will give major stakeholders in the industry and related sectors a chance to create a unified agriculture vision.
We are going to host in 2024 the Caribbean Week of Agriculture here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we are going to bring together all of the ministers of agriculture in CARICOM to SVG. It is going to be a week of activities, international organizations and agencies, FAO, AICA, CARDI, CRFM, and they will be bringing their technicians, and farmers also will be coming to participate in the week of activities. So that's something that I want for our farmers and our fisher folk, our food producers, to look forward. This meeting that is going to take place in the month of October, Caribbean Week of Agriculture.
The Caribbean Week of Agriculture is the premier event on the regional agriculture calendar. It provides a forum for decision makers in the public and private sectors to acknowledge the importance of agriculture to the economic, social and environmental stability of member states of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM. Chairman of the Board of Directors of the National Parks, Rivers and Beaches Authority, Gideon Nash, is urging members of the public to make their contribution, financial and otherwise, for the development of local parks. Addressing the opening ceremony for National Parks Authority Awareness Month 2024, Nash said over the years the organization has expanded and is currently managing 14 sites with more to be developed.
We have, for example, the La Soufrière, which is visited by a number of persons. We still have our concern, our safety concerns with regards to lahars and so on. But it is visited by a lot of persons. There is the opportunity for research by students from the universities and colleges. It is important, therefore, that we begin to put in place a fee system which will allow us to get revenue to improve these sites. It is paramount to the development of the sites.
Nash also noted the importance of connecting people to parks, as highlighted by the theme for the months-long awareness activities.
I want to ensure and encourage the public to support us during this month of activities. The theme, Connecting People to Parks, is to ensure that you not just visit, walk in, walk out and say, oh, this place was cool, this place was nice. But to understand the historic background of the parks, to understand the historic background, let's say, of the botanical gardens, where it is the oldest botanical gardens in the Western Hemisphere. And therefore, it means a lot. It means a lot not only to what we do here at national parks, but to the country as a whole. The Darkview Falls, the historic background, the Wallerable Falls. These are very important areas where we encourage teachers and lecturers to take your students and to ensure that they're not just a passing visitor, but they understand the history of these.